Hello, it's time for that September TBR. It feels like forever since I've talked to you guys because this is like my first video that I've recorded in a few weeks. So sorry if I'm a little rusty, but I'm very excited to be back in front of the camera and I have so many fun reading plans and who knows if I'll get to them all. I'm in the midst of packing everything and moving and school's starting up and it's still a pandemic, so like, who knows. But I really am excited for everything on this list. I hope it's obtainable to me. Some I have to read for book clubs, some I'm really focusing on continuing series this month, I feel. Like when I was selecting things, I was like, yes, I need to read this because I need to continue that. So there's a lot of focus on continuing some fantasy and sci-fi series, but I also have a good mix of other things here. First, I just want to talk about, this is not the end of August when I'm filming this. I'm doing a little pre-film because moving. And I am currently reading Tagana, Sunspot Jungle, and I'm hoping to read The House in the Cerulean Sea by the end of the month. I think I can do all those things. I am also hoping to finish my audiobook, which is Kingdom of Copper. So these are all the things I'm currently reading. I'm really enjoying all of them. Well, I haven't started House in the Cerulean Sea, but everyone loves it, so I have high hopes. But yeah, so I'm hoping within the next 7 to 8 days, even with moving, that I'll be able to escape into these books to get rid of my stress, and it will be wonderful. But now let's get into this TBR. And let's start with things I need to read because of book clubs or friend obligations. And the first one I'll talk about is one I've been very excited to read. I actually just rewatched Arrival. So that is The Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. Whoa, the color balance is all off with this book. But honestly, this cover is just beautiful. And this is a short story collection by one of my new favorite sci-fi authors, and he wrote Arrival's short story, which is the title story of this collection. I just rewatched the movie. I really want to read it, and a bunch of my booktube friends, we kind of do a very, very casual, small book reading thing every few months, and last time we read The Memory Police, and this time we're going to read this short story collection, so I'm very, very excited. And the next book's probably also going to wipe out my face, and that is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This is my local book club's book, and going to be reading this. I don't know a lot about it. My boyfriend read it, and he liked it. Or, you know, it's pretty, I think, a pretty quick read. My boyfriend's a pretty slow reader, and he got through this in a few weeks. And it only is 200-some pages, but I think it's based off historical events, but it's more historical fiction. It's not a nonfiction story. I have heard a lot about both of this author's books. I'm pretty sure there are two well-known ones. One's The Underground Railroad. So I've been wanting to read this for a while, and I'm glad my book club has given me that excuse. Also, the only reason I have a nice copy is this is my boyfriend's copy. But again, order from Amazon at your own risk. I don't understand that company sometimes. And another thing is for the Space Sirens book club. It got voted on recently for Jade City, which I know has been on my TBR for like months, and I really want to read it. I'm not avoiding it, although maybe a little bit, because I'm really nervous because I know I'm going to love it, and I know I'm going to love Jade War, and then Jade Legacy. I have 365 days to wait for Jade Legacy as of now, because I think it comes out in September of next year. So yeah, like, that shouldn't stop me from reading it, but it's made me nervous. But this is for the Space Sirens book club, so I'm going to read it for that for sure, and I'm very excited to get to it because I'm sure, I mean, it's one of those books that's been around lately that I've just heard nothing but good things about. I don't know a lot about it. Jade does something with magic. I think it's like crime lords, city setting, Asian inspired. That's all I know. I have like watched some reviews, but I don't like to know too much about things before I read them because, I don't know, I'm weird. And the last book I am reading for a book club, it's the Sisterhood of the Traveling Books book club. I'm going to be a guest on their live show for the Unkindness of Magicians discussion, so I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to be reading this one for that soon. So those are all the book club obligations. And now into kind of all the other stuff. I guess this next one's still kind of a book club obligation, but I need to start my reread of Words of Radiance. Not this version. Gosh, this is before they learned how to bind the books well. I've only read this copy like twice, and it's already like falling apart. But I'm going to read Words of Radiance for the Storm Along, and just because it's almost November, guys. It's almost November. And I'm just really excited. The cover reveal had me so excited, and I'm just like, I need to reread that because that's one of my favorite books ever, and then I need to reread Oathbringer. It's gonna be great. But just Words of Radiance for September. I'm not crazy. And I reread Foundry Side last month, so I need to get to Shortfall, which I know was on last month's TBR, but I just didn't get to it, and that's okay. I'm very nervous because my mom read Shortfall, and my mom and I have similar reading tastes, or at least I know very much what my mom likes, and on average, she likes what I like. Sometimes I like more things that she doesn't like. And she read Foundry Side and Shortfall back to back this spring. And I asked her, before I reread Foundry Side, is Shortfall an okay ending? Is it a cliffhanger ending? Am I going to be okay? And she said, yeah, it's fine. And then everyone on BookTube is freaking out and says it's a cliffhanger. So I'm like super stressed, but I already read Foundry Side, so I'm going to read this. And I already told my mom she owes me cookies if she was wrong. Now let's see. What is next? Oh yeah. It is time. It's happening. I'm going to read Raven Stratigum. It's the second book in the Machinery's Empire series, which if you don't know, I love. I made a world-building explanation video for that so that you have no excuse. You should read this series. It's so cool. It's the most excited I've been about a sci-fi space series ever. I think maybe I was sort of this excited for Dune, but like Dune doesn't have quite the character work and plot stuff that like, this is just so cool. Like these characters are so awesome. So I'm very excited. I hear it's even funnier, it's even more accessible. There were things that happened at the end of the first book that I need to understand. So yeah, I mean, gosh. And again, I mentioned this in my other video. There's an N.K. Jemisin blurb. Which, like, I already knew I loved this, but the fact that one of my favorite authors loves it, like, I feel like I have good taste. Now, what else do we got? Oh, I'm going to be buddy reading the last book in the Arc of the Scythe trilogy with Laura from A Book Circus. We both really liked our experience reading Thunderhead together, and we really want to know what happens next, because if you've read Thunderhead, things happen. It's not like the end of Scythe, where you're like, I guess I could leave that be. So I know it has mixed reviews, but we will see what happens. So I'm going to read The Toll in September with her. Already got it from my library, so it's just waiting to be read on my Kindle. And also, I went through a Kindle spree. I need to continue the Witcher series. It's been a few months. I was a little burned by the Time of Contempt, but I need to read Baptism of Fire. So I have that on my Kindle. Depending on my like audiobook schedule, I might try and do the audiobook instead if I'm not jiving with whatever's happening, but I don't know, I really have liked the writing style in other books, just Time of Contempt left a bad taste in my mouth. But I'm going to continue, so hopefully this month I will pick up Baptism of Fire, and then, like I said at the beginning of this video, I have been listening to Kingdom of Copper, and I am ready for Empire of Gold. I'm not even at the end of Kingdom of Copper, which is a reread for me, but yeah, so I have that on my Kindle. I am ready to read and finish the Davabad trilogy. Everyone, I have hopes that I'll be okay with the ending. I have hopes because everyone seems to be in one piece. Like, they have emotions, but everyone seems to be in one piece, so I feel good. And I'm just really interested to see what this is all going to do. I know a lot of people don't like the romance in these stories. I think I just ignore it. Because also I feel like the main character, Nari, in this story, she had, it's not quite a love triangle, but she has, like, I don't know, she has trust issues, but also, like, is really weird about where she places her trust. And I think I just think of her as, like, a character who's very flawed, so her decisions are obviously flawed. And I just mostly like Ollie. Ollie is this bookworm prince, and he's great, and I just love him, and everyone else, I just don't care. You're just around. And then there's Dara, who is he's not actually very old, but he's from a different time and has been put into this time period we're in. And it's political intrigue, djinn magic, it's Middle Eastern fantasy. It's really cool if you haven't picked up this trilogy. I'm not explaining it very well, but it's really good. So I don't personally mind the romance, but if you're very picky about your romances, maybe you have an issue. I think there's more like thinking about romance than actual romance, and maybe that's why I don't care. Now, the last one, as I look in, this is for sure happening, and this is the first time I'm putting like an audiobook on my TBR, but I'm going to get the audiobook of A Beautiful Foolish Endeavor right after Kingdom of Copper. This is the second book. I don't even know the name of the duologies card, but Absolute Remarkable Beauty, I think, was the first one by Hank Green. This is the sequel, and I read the first one in audiobook and loved it, so I'm going to continue with the second one. And I know it's different. It's not all from April May's perspective. It's multiple people, but I just need to finish that because it brought me a lot of joy this summer. So yeah, that's my TBR. Hopefully some novellas will sneak in and other things, but this is already like 10 books, maybe? I don't know. And a lot of them are big. Like, this is big. So we will see what happens, but I have hopes, and I'm just really in a reading mood. It's fall. Well, it's not fall, but I feel it coming. I'm very excited. I was just looking outside and realized you guys don't know that that's the outside. That, for now, is the outside. Who knows what the filming setup will be at the new place. That's a different anxiety problem for another day. But yeah, otherwise, you made it this far. Put any emoji you'd like me to see. You can explain it, you cannot explain it, I don't care. A dealer's choice this time. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to. If you also want a comment question of the day, I would love to know what you're most excited to read next month, because I don't know, I feel very excited. I guess if I had to pick one, I am most excited to read Raven Stratigum, because I'm obsessed with that series, even though I've only read one book. Otherwise, yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.